guest is Ray Perkins. Ray Perkins is an inventor, one of those guys with a smart brain and can come up with something unique and actually patent the idea and make money on it. At least, you know, you hope you make money when you patent an idea. I have struggled with that, but I've never come up with the big idea. Ray, you did it. Welcome.
Thank you. It's glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
So give me a little bit about your background before we get into the invention we're going to be talking about in some detail. And then we're going to be talking about the U.S. Patent Office, of course, and your whole process there and your subsequent nightmare with it. But tell me a little bit about your background.
I'm just a regular guy who goes to Starbucks, grew up on the beach in Florida, love the outdoors, grew up surfing, grew up fishing in these waters, golfing. So I just love the Florida area. So I also have this wild guy streak where I like to play with chemistry and blow things up and
Yeah. Oh,
do
yeah.
things with chemistry, invent the slime and all those other little things. So those things kind of all came together with my invention.
Okay. So what do you do what did you do for a living, or what do you do for a living? Other
Um,
than things.
yeah, I'm really part of the invention group, and we're trying to sell that product that we came up with, which is it's an interesting product. It's a niche product, but it's a huge niche. It's a fertilizer additive that helps to make fertilizer more efficient, where fertilizer and nitrogen isn't lost into the soil or the groundwater.
Okay. So what do you call this invention?
The trade name for it is in-yield, but it is a urease inhibitor. And what a urease inhibitor does is it keeps nitrogen, is a very inefficient product, and it keeps this nitrogen from doing things like floating down the Mississippi River or volatilizing and going up into the ozone and destroying our ozone. So it keeps about 50% of the nitrogen going to the plant instead of into our environment.
Okay, so it's something good for the environment.
Yes, absolutely. It makes nitrogen much more efficient, nitrogen fertilizer.
Okay, and the average person is not going to be aware of this, I would assume, but in that industry, it was highly valued.
Absolutely. What nitrogen, when it's produced, it's a nitrogen fertilizer, urea in particular. There's 190 million tons of it sold worldwide. So it's a multi-billion dollar business. And half of the nitrogen that's supposed to go to these plants is released into our environment. So this was a very big deal to be able to come up with something like this to make this nitrogen much, much more efficient.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Tell me a little bit about the process of coming up with that idea.
There was a way of doing this where you would put it into the manufacturing process, very high cost. And what we came up with was a way to do it after the urea is manufactured, to just kind of do it with common equipment. You can do it in a concrete mixer, and you
Yeah.
apply this liquid onto it. It penetrates the urea prill, and it's a much cheaper way of doing this. It makes it much more efficient, and now farmers can afford it. So adoption started to happen, and the business has gone from, a 5% market adoption now to about 15 because of our product.
Okay, okay. So as a result of that, you made some money.
We made some money and spent some money fighting PTAB, USPTO.
Yeah, let's
So
get into that because you got a patent, correct?
yes,
The U.S.
yes, we have
patent.
several patents. We
Okay,
have several patents. We have both US and world patents.
okay. So you got a patent, and you're selling this, making money, and they're using it. It's performing the way you wanted it to. It's doing a good job, and so everything is sunshine and roses after that, right?
Not quite. um, we were approached by a company, a French multinational, who tried to purchase us, and the deal kind of fell apart. But what we have is what's called a blocking patent. They can't practice their patents, and they can't sell their products because our technology blocks them. So we couldn't arrive at a deal that was, financially attractive to us. They didn't want to pay for it, so they decided that they would file these um, challenges with the US Patent Office to try to invalidate our patents. So, basically move us out of the way so they could have their patents.
Okay, so they approached you, talked to you, and all that, and they decided, hey, to heck with you, we'll just do it on our own.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Pretty much. Is that, am I
That's the
over?
long and short of it. Yeah. I mean, they moved us out of the way. They need to move us out of the way so they can practice their patents. And one of the things in going through this, I always thought that a patent protected you, but one of the big things that, and if there's any inventors out there that are listening, they need to understand that, patents don't infringe patents, products do. So they could not sell their product because we blocked them with a patent, even though they had a patent, if that makes any sense.
Sort of. But your patent was something they wanted and something they valued for them to, I guess, make money off of their.
Yeah, it was significant value. It was significant value. It is of significant value in the marketplace.
I mean, how much are we talking here?
I would estimate our patent value somewhere between 50 and $60 million.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. Incredible. So obviously it was enough money to fight over for the attorneys. So go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. The difference being that where you fight this is whether it's federal court or within the USPTO.
Yes. So let's get into that a little bit, because we talked to some other inventors that have run into this problem that you ran into. So I think most people would assume you've got a dispute, you go to court, either state or federal court, and you fight it, right?
No, not at all. In with the American Invents Act, there was a process put together in a court, a tribunal,
Yeah.
called PTAB, the Patent Trials and Appeals Board, and they hear the case, and they determine validity or invalidity. So they 84% of the time patents are declared invalid, which means that the examiner who went through the process of 2 years and is much more familiar with the art is wrong 84% of the time. So with that, these people are incentivized, these judges, it's not well known, but they are incentivized to invalidate patents. So the process is set up for failure.
Okay, so you don't go through the regular court system that we are aware of. In this case, it'd be federal court. You don't go through that system. You go to the patent office, and they have set up a special tribunal.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
correct.
and that happened in what, 2011 or so?
Yes, 2011 with the American Invents Act.
Okay, under the Obama administration. And I assume they have very impartial judges sitting on this panel.
That would be an incorrect assumption. These judges are typically what I would say are failed lawyers, who are appointed judges. And part of what is happening now in a case that I think is extremely important is USA versus Arthrex, which it was determined by the lower courts that these patent judges were actually avoiding the appointments clause. So this USA versus Arthrex is really about the appointments clause. So these are appointed judges. They're incentivized to, get you out of the way. And that's what they do 84% of the time.
Okay, US Patent Office versus, and spell that out for us.
It is the USA versus Arthrex, Arthrex. And what that is, it's a wide ranging Supreme Court case that's going to be heard here coming up this year. And it's regarding the appointments clause with the USPTO. And the question is whether—
When you say appointments clause, what do you mean? Appointing of the judges?
Yes, these judges are appointed by people, by the USPTO without undergoing congressional approval. So what the lower court said is you have to go through congressional approval, and that was appealed by the US government. So it's about the appointments clause, but it's more wide ranging than that, because this it'll be precedent setting for other departments. And, whether it's, Department of Labor, Department of Commerce, can you just appoint these people who have so much power and avoid having to go through congressional approval?
Okay, and so what's the nomination process for the judges and appointment process exactly?
It's probably somewhere between pulling out of a hat and pulling out of a fishbowl.
Well, who's like in charge of that?
It goes to the director.
No kidding. No kidding. So you've got the director picking people that people he knows, and you've got a number of big tech people involved. So they're obviously going to, I would assume, favor big tech.
Yeah, the best example of that is in the Obama administration, Michelle Lee came from Google, and she headed up the USPTO, and she appointed all of her cronies that were from big tech to go ahead and as these judges. Lots of them left and went back to big tech after they invalidated patents. So it's one big um, circle of corruption.
Wow. So this should be something that the average person should be concerned with, because it affects all of us on a big scale. And I know it's not on a lot of people's radar, but it's probably something that should be. It's part of, and then I guess obviously really on the agenda of inventors, future inventors, because it's going to affect them.
Absolutely. If I can go back to what you said there at the beginning, I think, it really, part of what I try to do is to get this word out there that, and boil it down to how it really affects people. And right now is a perfect time. These disruptive patents and things that were invented by individuals, things like, whether it's a potato chip or penicillin or whatever, they're done by small individual inventors who disrupt these large corporations. And right now you have the potential for inventors not to invent. They're disincentivized. So, is the cure for coronavirus or the treatment out there in some individual's lab that they're not going to do? So, it's hard to define to people how this affects them. People, what we do, red tide, we could, for the most part, cure red tide. All the people who suffer with lung issues, all of the things that float down the Mississippi River and cause hypoxia and fish kills, those can be treated. Those things, but they're not, because big corporations don't want that.
So, wow. So your invention, I mean, that affects a lot of people, fishermen, all of us who like fish, the environmentalists, the river, people who live along the rivers and the oceans, with the red tide situation. And so right now, no one can use that patent, or is someone using it?
They are using it. The people are using it, but it's being used a lot by people who are these nitrogen producers. So their choice boils down to, using this product and having mass adoption and selling up to 50% less nitrogen, which costs them billions, versus the millions that they make on selling this treated product. So it's an economic decision for them. To not do it and to sell enough to keep everybody happy and keep the questions from not coming.
So how can people listening and watching this, how can they help you?
I think one of the biggest things is to be aware of and call your congressman, call people, spread this message that this case that's before the U.S. Supreme Court right now, this USA versus Arthrex, I think that has to be a more publicized, better understood case, because it affects so many people. We're talking about specific problems, but with USA versus Arthrex, the spillover effect and the sundry things that violating the appointments clause can do, it can spill over into other agencies. What other agencies are going to have the ability to appoint people with so much power with no representation? They don't have to answer to the people. They don't have to answer to our congressman. So I think the USA versus Arthrex is a monster case that is very much under the radar.
Where can people get more information if they want to go to a website?
Yeah, the best place to go to hear individual stories is usinventor.org. And you can, go around on that website and see inventor stories. You can, see some of the issues going on today, and really see some of the people that have been affected by this. And it's not just inventors. It's those people out there that are being affected by this. Everybody's being affected by this. They just don't know it.
Yeah. Well, we will put that link in the bottom of the video here on the YouTube video, and hopefully people will pursue that and follow up with their congressman and letters. Ray Perkins, inventor.
Well, I would just encourage you to tell the story. It's, once you learn about it, once these individuals were, spread like wildfire, tell this story, because, nobody wants their loved one to be the one who died because, inventors didn't invent.
Good point. And it's an issue that hopefully will be resolved properly by the Supreme Court. We'll wait and see.
We will wait and see. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Ray, very much. Appreciate it. And Keep inventing, will you? We're speaking with Ray Perkins, an inventor and a spokesman for the U.S. Inventor. We'll have a link posted for you to find out more information about it.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, Ray.